Hello friends, welcome back. Thanks for joining me today. I'm creating for Authentique paper today and I'm using their brand new Timeless collection. It's absolutely gorgeous, has a wedding theme with beautiful pattern papers and vintagey image. I'm decided to create a card that would get some extra use out of this collection rather than just for weddings. And so I decided to go with a birthday theme, and I was able to incorporate many of the cut aparts as well as the pattern papers. So stick with me and we'll make this together. Okay friends, here is that Timeless collection from Authentique paper. What I wanted to do was use this paper for a project that didn't necessarily have to be for weddings. And so I was inspired by this cake, and this is just part of the journal card cut aparts. These are 3x4 size. I cut this out and then I just snipped off the little bride and groom layer, and that left me with a beautiful little gourmet cake on a pedestal. And then I liked the lighter background of this journal card, so I'm just going to take the image from one card and then adhere it to the other. And then I'm gonna put a few extra embellishments around so that you won't see those rings, and that will work out great. So I think that a really good combination, if you're gonna work with black and white, the classic beautiful color combination, is to bring in a hot pink. And so this is bubblegum, and this is a Spectrum cardstock. This is also from Authentique paper, so you know it's gonna coordinate beautifully. And this is going to bring our project out of the vintagey category and put it into more of a graphic art. It's going to be really a contrast of colors, and that will be great. So I'm going to use my regular 6x6 size and put some of the pattern paper on the inside as well, and I'm just gonna begin layering. So I'm alternating those patterns from the collection. I'm going to go darker and lighter, and then a larger and smaller scale, so that those paper layers don't look too busy. For the next layer, I'm gonna put this up on a foam spacer. So I put that on with double-sided adhesive tape first, and then I'm just going to include that wet adhesive for an extra bit of security. And this is going to begin building that fun dimension, and that is a way to include that gorgeous plaid. Of course, I'm always going to love that plaid, and that's going right in the center. And you can see how that bright pink really pops from the darker background. Here's my doily, and it's just going to kind of neutralize some of this pattern, so when we put on more layers, it's not going to get busy. And this is the Tea Party doily from the previously Cherryland Designs. It's Maker's Movement now. I'm not sure if they have this particular one available, but you could probably easily find a large doily that has a beautiful intricate pattern in your stash. Next, I'm going to bring in a grid, and this is cut from that beautiful pink cardstock from the background, and it is really acting as a textural element as well as a detail. I'm bringing that linear pattern from the plaid up to the front a little bit more. This grid I cut from the Amazing Paper Grace die of the month for June. That's a Spellbinders die. And then I'm also going to be using this double tail banner, so that'll be two different pieces from that die collection. And then it makes sense to use this kind of product to stick it, or a comparable different brand of adhesive you can add to your paper before you cut out an intricate die, so that you don't have to try to add glue to such a tiny space. A 100% guarantee I would do that and get glue everywhere. So that stick it really helps to keep the adhesive behind the die instead of on the table, in your hands, and all over the paper, and that works great. Here's my ring journal card. I cut that from the background right on up to that black border, because that is a good way to separate those busy paper patterns. I put this on a spacer as well, so I'll need a little bit more of that Tombow. I'm going to place it in this orientation because I can hide a fair bit of that ring image behind my added embellishments. Okay, here is that banner shape, and I've got this cut in the alternating tones of the paper. So one is darker, one is lighter, and the scale, the pattern is different, and that helps to keep them separate while you're layering them. This one is going to fall partially on this journal card and then partially onto the background. So I needed to add some support for that second layer, and I just put some double-sided adhesive foam dots, and that will bridge that distance and keep all of this nice layering flat to the front of the card. And because I've put that on there and given myself a flatter surface, I can use just my double-sided adhesive tape for this one. So I'm going to offset that a little bit. That will be more interesting to look at. And then here is that cake from the wedding cake journal card. I did remove that top portion where the bride and groom were, and then I went around it with my black marker so that I could hide that cut edge. There wouldn't be any white showing around. A good trick to have is to keep a nearly dry marker so that it won't bleed across the paper and create like a dark shadow. That way it won't look like a fussy cut job, it'll look more like a piece of ephemera. And I'm going to add this here. It's going to cover up that blingy bling, and it will have plenty of room for my additional layers. Here's my sentiment. This is just stamped with my little Birdie Crafts sentiment stamps, and these are great because they already have a nice border and they're easy to cut out. This is called Postal Special. I don't really know what is postal about them, but there is so many different sentiments on here for just about any occasion, and they're all really easy to cut out, even without a die. So that'll be great to keep in your stash to add sentiments to your cards. And you can use whatever color ink works for your project. I'm just using the archival ink on this because it gives a nice crisp finish, but if you wanted to do hot pink, you could do that as well, and you can match it up. So this one had foam spacer on it, and this was just the Scrapbook Design foam tabs because they're not quite as thick. You can see there is some dimension, but not a lot. And I left a gap in my sentiment here so that I could keep that all going flat against the surface again. And so this one's going right here, and that kind of goes along with that fishtail or dovetail edge. Here's my flowers for this pink and black combination. I decided to alternate just the pink and the white for this. I did add a little bit of green foliage and gold mirror as well, just to add a little bit of sparkle. And then I tucked in my bow. I've already adhered it to my flower arrangement. This is beautiful stitched satin that comes from Really Reasonable Ribbon. If you're interested in that, I'll link their shop in the description below so you can check that out. And so these white flowers are the magnolia flowers from Really Reasonable Ribbon as well. I took mine apart because I wanted to have a little bit of a flatter, larger flower so that I could add more layering. And then the centers I just moved out to the edge, so I would have my smaller flowers and then bring them in so that it created a nice arrangement with a full center. And then these pink flowers are gorgeous. They come from Little Birdie Crafts as well, and that really works with that beautiful pink, the bubblegum pink cardstock. So I'm just going to add this here, and now you can see that it definitely is not hiding all of that ring, but it makes it look intentional. It doesn't look out of place now. I want to add this very carefully with keeping in mind that that sentiment doesn't make sense if you cover up any of the words. So let's add this here and then make sure that this is visible. I've got a couple last details to add. So I picked a few charms here. One is a cheeky little cupcake. I thought that would work well for a birthday greeting card, and then a very small kind of scrolly heart. And I'm going to put these on and hold them in place so that I got them spaced where I wanted. And then I'm going to top it with this beautiful vintage button, and I put a little string through that as well so that it would adhere well to this card base. Now sometimes I add two bows, but because I added that beautiful grid from the June die of the month, I did not want to cover any of that detail up, so I'm just going to have this be the final detail, and that will be done. So if you are interested in these products, I will leave links in the description below so you can check them out, and there will be links as well to all our social media sites. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook, our blog, and our Etsy shop. If you enjoyed this project, make sure you give me a like, leave me a thumbs up, and if you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell notification so you will be alerted every time we add new content. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye.